Hello, my friends. Chris Basin here. Join me in my art studio as I put the finishing touches on rebuilding my X-Wing. All right, so I have set up shop here in my art studio where I have access to more tools and paint and airbrush, etc. And let's get sanding. We're going to get rid of some of that old glue, some of it anyway. All right, that should do. That should well enough. I do want to do some paint accents. I'm not painting the whole thing, but I'm going to do some little parts here and there. Like the cockpit frame is like a light blue, sort of like a light blue gray, and part of the top of the canopy's got that same light blue. So we'll mask that off and hit that with some little airbrush. And then I want to do a couple of white panels here on the sides. Luke's X-Wing's got the model anyway has a big white panel here, so I'm gonna change that. Go ahead and put these here. All of our little laser wings, all the pegs have broken off, and trying to find which one goes into which one is going to be rough. So I'm just going to sand those flat, and I've pre-made some little rings that'll go around the base of each one of the laser guns, and it'll give it a little extra when I go to mount those back on, so they fit really nice. And we're going to have to maybe figure out a way of kind of matching this yellowing plastic. All right, so let's go ahead. So I've got my little sanding stick here, and we're just going to get these sanded down so it's fairly flat. And the last one here. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got the two laser mounts that go on the wings. Just want to get a good flat surface and expose some of that plastic so the glue sticks really good. All right, those are the ones that broke off the wings, and the other ones are actually on the wings. So I guess I could pop these off, but it's like, why? We're gonna fix them and glue them anyway, so let's go ahead and just fix it here. It's funny, it's the two top guns that stayed, and the bottom ones popped off. All right. I'm going to glue the wings in the open position, because when I go to display it, I want the wings open. So I don't know if that's going to mean paint some of the inside. I don't think so. There's these little pegs on the wings that held it closed. One of them's broken off and the other's still here, but I think I'm going to take that peg off. Okay, so let's put the engines on first, because that's going to help me as I'm building, and we're going to have to figure out which engine goes where. Shouldn't be too hard. Okay, I believe this one just goes, that's just the bottom one, like so. Okay, so that's the bottom engine, and this one's going to be the top engine. All right, so that was easy. All right, so let's get some glue on those. Again, I'm not repainting anything. I'm going to leave it all as is. So let's get a little super glue. All right, so we're going to put a little here, and a little there. That should set up nicely. You know what? We'll hit it with a little. There we go. All right. So there's one engine in. So let's do the bottom engine. All right. And we'll hit it with a little spray. All right. So if all worked out, we should be nice and firm now. All right. So putting those engines on like that will give me a little bit of standing purchase so that I can work on the top like this. So there we go. So it's not all wobbly. Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead. So this wing's got that little clip in there. Let's go ahead and snip it out. I'm not going to use it. Okay. Fell inside the wing. All right. There we go. All right. Perfect. I'm liking that. All right. So let's, maybe while we're here, we glue the wings while in the open position. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm just going to throw some glue here on the hinge on both sides. And then we'll hit it in the open position. And then we'll hit it with some of the activator. All right. So that should work fine. So let's get a little bit, let's see. Yeah, look at that. Perfect. All right, so that just solves the problem of them always wanting to relax. All right, we can set this to one side here. Let's take it. There's this one is missing the tip. So I've got all four of these guys. To me, it's amazing that they survived all these years. And the one little piece that broke off, I still have. That's a miracle in itself. All right, so I've got my little tiny drill. And what I'm going to do is, you know what? Let's take a little sandpaper in there and take a little bit of this nub off. There we go. And then I'm going to take my little drill, and I'm not going to drill a deep hole. I'm just going to drill just a little bit. All right. That should be enough. I can go in with my knife and kind of make that hole a little bigger. All right. And then, will it sit? Yep, now it will sit in that little divot. All right, well, let's see if this works. So what I'll do is I'll throw a little bit of glue there. And then on this end, we'll throw a little activator on it. If I can get it on there, so small, okay. And I can keep my hand steady, drop that in. Give that a second or two to set. There we go. Nice. And then we'll just hit it with some activator. There we go. All right, so now we got all four. Nice. Very nice. Let's glue the guns back onto the ship. So let's go ahead and drop some glue. And hit it with some activator. All right. And the cool thing about activator is with the CA glue, you hit that and you don't have to wait for things to dry like the old days with our model parts. All right, so there we go. Engines are back. There's this little guy. He came off of this back engine. That's an easy fix. I'll just put a little dab. Okay. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. All right, I'm going to hold off to put those in. I think our next step here, now that all these pieces are repaired, let's go ahead. Let's move this over here. And I've pre-made these little rings. Very hard to see. And what they'll do is they'll go on the base of these laser pins that go here. Now they had a pin in an A and B slot on the original model, and that's going to be hard to mount. So what I did was I made these little rings that'll give it a little bit more surface area to glue, and then they'll go on. So I'll have a little ring there, but that's all right. It won't bother me once we paint it and kind of match the color. So that's what we're going to do next. Little CA here. All right, that's 1, 2. All right. All right, so there are our 4 little mounting rings for the laser cannons. All right, so here's what we're going to do next. We're going to do some painting. So we're going to mask off a few things. So I want to do the cockpit window with that light blue. So we'll mask that off, and we'll mask some of the roof here, the top canopy off, and then we'll do a little mask on we'll do a little white panel here. And then maybe something on the nose. All right, so let's go ahead, let's mask some of these things off. Let me get some tape here. I got some yellow painter's tape. All right, so we're going to just preserve the window. You know, this is very exciting stuff. All right, so there's the canopy all covered. So what we'll do is we'll do the inside. Well, we'll use bigger tape on the inside. This will protect the inside of the canopy. So there's the canopy covered, the front part, cockpit canopy, and then there's a little bit on the back here. Now, back in the day, I would hand paint all this. In fact, that's what I did on almost everything. I had an airbrush back in the 80s. Rarely did I ever crack it out for model work. All right, that should be good enough. The lasers have a little bit of a, on two of them, a little bit of a paint job. I did this on my larger X-Wing. I'm just going to roll the tape around and make these little sort of zebra stripes. All right, there we go. All right, so there's one. So there's actually two of them on opposing wings. It don't matter which one I grab. All right, so there you go. So we're going to have a little light blue canopy, and then there's these little stripes that are on the cannons. Let's go ahead. Let's make some room. And we'll get our airbrush ready. All right. So we got some blue on there. It's super subtle, super light, but it's blue. So it just sort of separates the canopy from the rest of the ship. Now let's do this little side panel here. We'll do a little tape here. Because Luke's X-Wing it didn't have a solid red. It had a break in it, so it goes about the length of the canopy. So we'll just run some tape here. About like right here. And so it's about the edge of the canopy. Right there. All right. So we're going to throw this yellow here. Now my only concern is that red's pretty intense. So that might take a little bit of paint to cover up. I do have these like Sharpie paint pens. Let's try. So I'm going to go ahead and make this gray. That should cover up that red pretty good. And that'll give us a good base for some white. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, we're coming to the end here. Let's go ahead. We're going to save the guns for last. Those are going to go on the very last thing. Let's go ahead and let's mount the wings into the bottom of the chassis here. Now the plan is ultimately I'm going to run a rod probably right in here, and I've ordered a base, a Death Star base from Etsy. So that's going to mount on a clear rod, sort of like this, but there's what she's looking like. I think she looks 10 times better. All right, so let's go ahead and glue the wings in. Thank goodness for CA glue. Holy moly. Think about the days, of the old testers model glue and the smell of it, waiting for them to dry, and it take forever. All right, let's go ahead and get these guys in. That looks pretty good. Hit it with a little activator. Let's do it. Probably don't need this much glue. Wish me luck. All right, front looks good. All right, let's deal with the guns. Now the trick is going to be, will it sit as straight as it can go? Put a little activator on there already. Here we go. This will be the last piece to fix. And let's get some activator on there. There we go. Cap our glue. Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how satisfying this is. So that's my X-Wing. Now is reborn. That's cool. All right. It's done. It's so cool to see this after 40 years, and all those years in a storage. Seeing it built back the way it was when I built it originally in 1978. Unfortunately, there were a couple of steps that didn't record. Painting the inside of the cockpit and installing Luke, and then painting the stripes here on the laser guns. Really, you didn't miss much. Again, it's just really cool to see this all back in one piece, but we're not done yet. We got to put it on the base. All right. After almost a month, I've got the base. It got stuck in customs coming from Canada, but it's all good. Wasn't the seller's fault. It was just crazy customs. Anyway, so the base is here. Let's go ahead and let's open this up. All right. Oh, very nice.
This looks awesome. The print on this is great. I won't have to do much sanding or cleanup on this at all, if at any. I will have to make a, I'm going to thicken up the base. I've got some wood in the garage that I'm going to thicken up the base so that the X-Wing will have something a little more substantial to sit on. So this will work out great. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So I had a scrap piece of wood in the garage, and I measured that out. I cut it down to size. I painted the base with a base coat of primer and then hit it with some gray. I mounted it to the bottom of the 3D print to give it a little thickness. I added a little extra support in the base of the X-Wing for the plastic rod. Once everything was done, I mounted the clear plastic rod into the X-Wing, which then went into the base, and that was pretty much it. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane and my retrofit of my 1978 MPC X-Wing model kit that I built all those 40 plus years ago. This was a fun project. I think it came out really great. This is going to display great in my office. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got one that I'm making where I'm going to talk about how I made a Darth Vader costume in 1977.